Welcome to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Pfefferkorn, and this is the biggest and only fan-run podcast of the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. We'll get right back to you after the tune. Welcome back to the State of the Buccaneers podcast. It has been an interesting week in ETSU athletics. And around the region in general. So yeah, this is gonna be a interesting episode today. I have a big episode planned for you tonight. Just recapping, previewing the rail rivalry, our biggest rivalry against Chattanooga, and everything on homecoming weekend, all the events that we have planned just for the game and some other stuff we'll get into later, covering the basketball team. But yeah, it has been a big, it's been a weird week in general. Of course, I would be remiss to not mention Hurricane. Oh, I'm forgetting the name. The hurricane. Hurricane. I forget the name. Hurricane Helene. It greatly impacted the region this weekend and impacted the football team. We had a game against Citadel this weekend, and the flooding, the just insane impact of the hurricane impacted not only the football team but the entire region. Lots of devastation, lots of loss all around. I would be remiss not to mention it to start our podcast tonight. So prayers up for this whole region. Trey Lamb, after he interviewed after the game on Saturday, he was torn up. The whole team was all emotional. It's just an emotional time because everyone here in the Northeast Tennessee region was greatly impacted by the hurricane. The flooding, just in low regions. A lot of people have lost their homes. I'll get into a little bit more about what you all can do to help later. But I just wanted to start off the episode by saying that and kind of segue into our football team's travel to Citadel. I'm going to recap the game. But they literally crossed the bridge 10 minutes as the team was traveling on Friday. They crossed the bridge 10 minutes after that flooding started out in Unicoi County. They destroyed Interstate 26 and closed Interstate 26 in Tennessee and North Carolina. Interstate 40 was closed. Lots of games were impacted this weekend. A lot of the Southern Conference games. Western, thankfully, didn't have a game. App State canceled their game against Liberty. But as a result of that, ETSU got trapped for I'm gonna look up some details so I get all this stuff right, because I trapped. They were stalled on 26 for a long while. They were stranded from they left campus 10:30 on Friday, and they got across where the road washed out pretty much due to the Nolichucky River flooding. They learned I-40 was closed in both directions in North Carolina. They didn't have any signal. Their state trooper couldn't signal. They didn't have a satellite phone or anything. There was of course, service got cut off. I was actually out of town this weekend, so I didn't I didn't feel the direct effects from it, but it's got to be crazy just being stranded on that bus. I forget how long they were stranded. They got stranded at 6 p.m. on Friday. Some of the coaches and a state trooper made it to local Ingalls, and they got food for the team. By 8 p.m., they decided to just sleep on the buses, sleep overnight. And they got a couple of the assistant coaches got a ride from a stranger to a hotel with phone service, and they got word out that they were stranded on the side of the interstate, waiting for the interstate to open. And at 1:30, they'd been sleeping for a while, I guess just playing around on the bus. A lot of the team. Jalen King kind of talked about it. They were playing a lot of Xbox, playing cards, just kind of chilling out, waiting for the time to come that they could get back on the road. At 1:30, they got back on the road, and stayed in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and got up at they were staying in Hendersonville. 1:30, they got back on the road, and they arrived to Charleston about 4:30 in the morning. Obviously, the game had to be pushed back. There's some debate on whether they should just keep it on Saturday and move it to Sunday, or move it out further itself. But the game was moved from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., and the team woke up at about 2, I read somewhere, or 1 or 2 in the afternoon, after sleeping all morning, of course, to get some rest. I'm sure all of them were resting at various points. But it was a wild excursion. The game itself, ETSU had an emotional victory over the Citadel, 34-17. You could obviously tell some of the team was worn out, especially Jalen King. They were just off in places with penalties and timing and stuff, and that's to be expected with what they had just gone through. They didn't look as sound fundamentally as they did against Elon the previous week. They played a great game, no doubt. It could have been a lot more, I'd say, if it wasn't for turnovers and poor execution on some things. But they did a great job. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of all our athletes that were traveling this weekend with all that craziness this past weekend. But yeah, I followed the game, and I was just so happy, man. With all that has gone on, Trey Lamb has guided us excellently through it. He's been out in the media, reaching out, just talking, putting our region in the spotlight, trying to get, any little bit helps, especially with just this podcast tonight. It's not going to be solely focused on sports. I think this has a higher purpose, to just shed the light on our region. If you're a listener that's not from the Tri-Cities, maybe you just attended ETSU, or just came through, or opposing fan tuning in. The devastation in Upper East Tennessee and Western Carolina, it is so much worse than the media has said. Obviously, I wasn't affected in my county as much. Maybe the south side of the county, it was more. There's some impact down there close to Unicoi County. Unicoi, Greene counties were especially impacted. and further out. There's just flooding everywhere. I saw videos. But for Trey Lamb to come on board, be a positive influence, there's a lot of coaches that wouldn't step up to the plate with that. They just sort of say 2 words and be done with it. But he's sort of put the region on his back, so to speak, and the team has put the region on the back. ETSU's had a lot. So that was sort of another tangent. But we'll get back to the game. Of course, it was a 34-17 win. I'm going to share the statistics right now. Let's share my screen. We will share this. You see the final box score. ETSU held the lead the entire game. Well, Citadel struck first. I think that was just because ETSU was tired quite a bit. They don't have it broken down by plays. Oh, they do. First quarter, they got a 32-yard field goal. We missed. Our running backs continue to show off. Bryson Irby led the backfield with 126 yards and a touchdown. He had 14 carries. He was a bit banged up, but he played quite a bit Saturday. Cameron LeBourne, he had an outstanding game. Only 5 carries, but he had 117 yards and 2 touchdowns for an average of 23.4 yards per carry. He won the SoCon Offensive Player of the Week, and he dominated. And Jalen King added in 29 yards and a touchdown. Continues to be that mobile threat. The rest of the backfield was good. Jalen King played all right through the air, but he did have 3 turnovers. A lot of them were just mistakes. Mistakes that, a tip. 2 of them were tip balls, or one he tried to throw down and the defender just happened to get it in his hands. But he's going to have to play better down the stretch, especially against Chattanooga tomorrow. Mercer, we're going to have to play a whole lot better. Passing the ball, making better decision making. But given the circumstances, he looked good. You could tell he was worn out. You could tell the whole team was worn out. But we still played a B+ game, man. We still played. It probably might be an A+ game with the circumstances going on. But yeah, we played. Okay, I clicked on the wrong thing. Wrong screen. But AJ Johnson led us in receiving, 47 yards. Kareem Page, 30. Trey Foster Lewis continues to be consistent. The clincher of the game pretty much ended the game for us, got us the win, was Jimmy Bowdry. He stepped up. He had a 8-yard pick six because it was looking like Citadel had momentum there in that fourth quarter. Or third quarter at least. And then Cameron LeBourne had a 40-yard touchdown run, and Jimmy Bowdry had the pick six. Jonathan Bennett for Citadel, he played all right, the transfer from Liberty. They gave us a game. It was about what I expected. I think the final score I predicted was like 34-24 last week. You'll have to go back and watch the podcast last week. But I was right on the money, 34-17. They got a touchdown late. And then Bryson Irby called game in garbage time. We were trying to run clock, but they let us score. And Irby's been excellent. Yeah. I think that was a resounding win. Tough win. With the travel circumstances, I'm going to say they put the region on their back right here. And I appreciate Trey Lamb. I appreciate each and every one of the football team, all the support staff, the coaches, for guiding our student athletes down to Charleston and back home. Because travel this weekend, I think it was crazy for everyone in the region this past weekend. And yeah, so that's all I can say about it. Dominated the Citadel. Well, I wouldn't say we dominated, but played a great game. That leaves us at 1-0 in the conference. And just quickly, I'm going to transition into the Chattanooga game this weekend. It is, let's go look at Chattanooga. They're coming into the game 1-3, and we are 3-2. We are 1-0 in the conference, so we are. Let's click back. We are second in the conference because Mercer's already played 3 conference games. We'll get more into those standings here in a minute, but Chattanooga's had a rough start to the year. So them being our homecoming game, maybe that's good for us. But they opened the year against Tennessee, got absolutely smacked. I'd say anyone that's playing Tennessee this year has gotten smacked outside of Oklahoma. Any smaller school, they just don't have the speed to keep up. Then they lost to FBS Georgia State by 3 points. That's a good performance. But for Chattanooga, how they've been the last couple of years, in Georgia State having a first-year head coach, maybe expect to win. They gave Mercer, SoCon top dog right now, Mercer a game. Looked like it was a defensive battle, 10-3. Portland State, last week they opened up their offense for the first time this year. Although I don't think Portland State's that good. I am not sure on what Portland State's record is. 0-4. I think their coach is on the hot seat. Bruce Barnum. He's still there somehow. We'll go back. I was just looking at something. But they beat them 45-30. And their QB had 396 yards and 4 touchdowns. And on the ground, they had 100-yard rusher. I think it was kind of a shootout. That may be how our game goes tomorrow. I am going to, let's see, they are 1-3 to start the year. Their QB, Chase Artipus, he's not been played that well compared to his last year's stats he put up. Because last year he had 20 touchdowns through the air and a good passer rating. He was the transfer from UCLA. He chose Chattanooga over the Bucs. I'm happy with how it worked out with our QB room this year, but he's struggled quite a bit. He has 6 touchdowns, but 4 of those were against Portland State. He has 4 picks, only a 58 completion percentage. On the ground, their yards per average isn't that great. Reggie Davis has 259 yards through 4 games. So I think they've just been ground and pound. But let's go back to ETSU real quick. It's just looking at the game this weekend. I think it'll be a decent game. I don't think it'll be super tough. It's tough telling with Chattanooga because they have played 2 FBS opponents, and but our offense against their defense, I think we're going to put up some points. I think it's going to be a Bucs victory on homecoming weekend, the weekend after last weekend. We'll have time to rest. Just focus on football. But since it's homecoming weekend in the rail rivalry, I think, given Chattanooga's record so far, I think we're going to win. I think we put up 38 points, and Chattanooga puts up about 24-ish. That'll be my score prediction for this weekend, for actually today's game, because I'm recording this late at night. But 38 to 24 would be my score prediction. I'm going to stop sharing real quick, briefly. Well, actually, I'm going to go back, start sharing again, just to look at the SoCon this weekend. Let's pull around the SoCon. I know last weekend there was a couple games affected. Furman could not play their game against Sanford. I think it was declared a no contest, I believe. So that game may impact the standings, since Furman is up there. Let's go to Southern Conference. I clicked on FCS. There's only 4 games this weekend. Some teams have some buys. Of course, we have the Chattanooga ETSU game, the Furman and Citadel game in Charleston. Furman gets to play their first Southern Southern Conference game finally. I'm going to go with I think Citadel pulls that one off, honestly. Furman's not looked that great so far this year. But I think Citadel pulls that one off. Wofford versus Western Carolina. I don't know. That game is going to be played with no fans since it's in Coley. I think they have a lot of restraints still in their county, as far as energy usage and stuff like that. But I think Western's going to win that one in a close one, although I could be wrong. The distraction could be too much. But I think Wofford's starting QB is out as well. And then we have Sanford versus VMI. I think Sanford's going to roll in that one. They always have great QB play, and VMI's not put up much of a fight against anybody. But the standings for – let's look at the standings for FCS. Let's look at Southern Conference. Right now, it's Mercer at the top, ETSU. Not a lot of teams have played their games yet. All the 4 teams still have to play. But the top dogs in the conference, it's looking like Mercer, ETSU, Wofford. I'd say Wofford, Western, and Furman are the teams that have a chance. Sanford, I don't think they will. Just depends. I think they'll be about 5th or 6th in the conference. I think the bottom team is VMI. Citadel being 0-2, they play a lot better than their record. I think their coaches turn them around slowly. It's going to be a rebuild there, so we'll see how they do. Right now, ETSU has one of the most explosive offenses in the SoCon and FCS in general. I would be remiss. I'm gonna pull up. Let's pull up FCS stats. ETSU re-entered the top 25 this week. In the stats FCS poll, they didn't re-enter in the coaches poll. They're not quite there yet. I'm going to share this tab. Just looking around, making sure. Let's make sure I got on here. ETSU is at 23rd in the country, and they're receiving 200 points. Going down this list, South Dakota State is first. Of course, they've won the last 2 championships, I believe. You have North Dakota State, who we played, still at number 2. They've shown out after we gave them a game. Montana State still out there, South Dakota, Central Arkansas, Villanova. After those top three, it's kind of, or top four actually, it's kind of up to debate. Central Arkansas, fifth. That's kind of surprising, to be honest. Villanova, they're always strong. North Dakota, strong. Montana, UC Davis. Idaho lost this past weekend. They dropped, I forget who they dropped to. Mercer is number 11. That's going to be a huge game for us. Going on the road. This game's looking tougher and tougher every day we get closer to it. William and Mary, Southeast Missouri State, Tarleton, Incarnate Word, Abilene Christian, Sacramento State, who's looking to move up to FBS. Illinois State, Southern Illinois, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, McNeese, of course, ETSU, Lamar, and Northern Arizona. But that's just sort of a quick look around the FCS. I think we continue to move up. We continue to win. We re-entered the top 25 after 2 years of hell, absolute hell in the football program. And we are looking like the Bucs are back just in time for homecoming. We are ranked. It's going to be a sellout crowd tomorrow. And I am excited. I'm excited. I hope to see you all there. I'll be tailgating. I don't know if I'll be cooking much. But say hi at the tailgate. I'm going to stop sharing for just a little bit. This is going to be a big weekend for ETSU as a school and for the community. Going to be some fun times to be had. It's going to be a good game, and we continue to see the Bucs grow as a team each week. I see that progression. We're almost there, and we're going to continue to move up those polls. My next thing on my agenda, I'm going to do a transition quickly. To the talking about the some of the homecoming activities for the basketball team. We had the last time Chattanooga or ETSU beat Chattanooga was in 2018. This was Randy Sanders' first year. We haven't beat them in 4 years. They were our one conference loss in 2021 as we dropped to them in a close game. We just haven't been able to beat them these last few years. They've been tough. Last year, they've had a tough running game, tough defense. I hope we crush them tomorrow. But my trivia question tonight was, who was our leading rusher in that 2018 game that we beat Chattanooga 17-14? And I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to answer. It's going to be one of two people. Let's be real. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was Jacob Sailors. It was going to be him or Quay Holmes. Shout out. I'm going to pull this up right here. For those of you listening on audio, still got the Quay Holmes figure right here. Shout out Quay Holmes. Shout out Jacob Sailors. I need to get one made of Jacob Sailors too. Get them dual made for my future man cave. But Jacob Sailors, I'm going to share my screen again. Sorry to those of you listening on Spotify, but you don't get to see the graphics. You just get to hear my voice, my beautiful voice. Let's share my screen. Jacob Sailors had 51 yards. He wasn't firmly established yet. He had a couple good games to start the year. Quay Holmes was already taken off, but he kind of struggled in the Chattanooga game, had a touchdown. But Austin Henrick had taken over from Logan Marshy. That was one of the weirder years of ETSU football, but we ended up winning, tying for the conference championship. But this was the last time we beat Chattanooga. So it's been 4 years. It stings to lose in a rivalry, especially a trophy series, trophy rivalry like that. We've lost those 4 games, even under Sanders. And we didn't play in the COVID year, of course. They chickened out. I think we could have beat them that year. But they chickened out and said, "Oh, we're not going to play the game," and it might have cost us a shot at the FCS playoffs. Yeah, so that was the last time we beat them, and Jacob Pfefferkorn was our leading rusher. And I guess we'll get started to the next segue into basketball. Speaking of Chattanooga, the last time we played in football or basketball was the SoCon semifinals, where we came back by 20 points. I got you, Chattanooga fans. I think we're just we're meant for each other, and of course it's Chattanooga Hate Week, so F Chattanooga. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, that's the last time we played them. I'm gonna stop sharing again. This Saturday is part of the homecoming activities for men's basketball. As we get closer to the basketball season, the basketball team is going to host an open practice and meet the team event tomorrow in Brooks Gym at 11 a.m. So I'm going to be there. I haven't kept up with practice all that much. I haven't attended any of the open practices they've had. But I'm excited to see how the team's gelling after that SoCon tourney in the end of the year last year. We grew a lot as a team, and I think Brooks Savage is going to have us rolling right. He was just on somewhere. I think he was giving an interview. I'll have to go watch it. Coach Savage, you're more than welcome back on the podcast. But I think we're all excited for this team. Every Buck fan out there, all the Buck faithful are excited for this season of Buccaneer basketball. And tomorrow is our first shot at it. I didn't have really much else to say. Let's see about Buccaneer basketball, because there hasn't been a lot of news here recently. They've just been practicing. So get there early tomorrow. Tailgate. Get your tailgate set up early. Get to the open practice in Brooks Gym. Open scrimmage. Is it in Brooks Gym? Yeah, it's in Brooks Gym. No, is it? I misspoke. Not Brooks Gym. Oh, it is in Brooks Gym. Brooks Gym. Okay, never mind. Guess they figured it'd be better to have it there than the CPA. Or I think maybe last year they had a volleyball game going on or something. But hopefully I didn't spread misinformation there. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of news on the ETSU front. I just wanted to recap the craziness from this past weekend. The Citadel game, the strength of the football team, preview some of the homecoming events. Of course, you got the Buck Walk. There's probably all kinds of crazy stuff going on campus that I'm not aware of since I'm not a student anymore. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful weather, so get out there if you can, or follow. Be watching on ESPN3 if you're live outside of the region or not able to come back. But that's a majority of what I wanted to say. Tomorrow, also, they're having donations at the game in Lot 21, I believe, for the flood victims, everyone impacted by the flood. They've lost their livelihoods, lost family members, or still don't have power or electricity or water in a lot of areas. It's going to be a while before they get back to full capacity. You're just from that devastation. So do a good deed, donate something, find a charity in the region if you can't donate tomorrow. Find some way to help. I know I have. I work a lot, so I donated to a friend that's been going and making deliveries. He was previously on the podcast, Cody Powers. So go give a shout out to him and see if you can donate or help him buy deliveries. He's made 3 or 4 trips already, I believe. So yeah, just wanted to have a bigger purpose for this podcast episode tonight. Of course, it's Chattanooga Hate Week. Spam the Chattanooga Hate on Twitter and in the replies. I know that's kind of a contrast right here. One hand, I want to help everybody in Tennessee and North Carolina, all the people affected by the flood. And I'm talking about beating the dog piss out of Chattanooga this weekend. But that's about all I have to say for tonight. Kind of a quick episode, maybe not, but anyway, I'm probably going to get out of here. I need to go get some sleep and before the game. So Godspeed, go Bucs. Oh yeah, also donate to Bucs for Good as well as in addition to the flood donations. But yeah, so Godspeed and go Bucs. Have a good night. Stay safe. Take care, y'all.